Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 167 of the Runnin the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Joey, Nick, and Ben. Guys, how are you doing today?
Feeling good, feeling great. Bye, Nick.
Nick's already done with the episode. There he is, coming right back on. Welcome back, Nick. How are you guys doing?
Feeling good, feeling great, man. I'm feeling good, feeling great too.
Heck
Good,
yeah.
good, good. Ben, how about you?
Feeling good, feeling great, and ready to talk some hoops as usual.
That's right. Feeling good, feeling great times four, baby. We are back here with a fun episode today. Lots of things to talk about. First episode in a week here. And boy, has a lot of stuff happened here that we're going to talk about here today. Should be a fun one. So let's get started off with Pirtle. Let's see how quickly we can get this done here today. So who's the first player that we are going to guess for Pirtle today?
We are going to be doing Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram, BI for the Surging Raptors. All right, it's going to be a player in the East that wears the number 3. That's 29 or 30 years old that wears the number 3. All right.
Let's see. I'm
And
not
this
great with the
Mr.
numbers.
Central.
Yeah, it's all about the jersey number. That's where we got to get this.
Miles, you're our jersey number insider, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess we could call me that. Let's look around the league.
Let's
here.
try this. Who's number 3 on the New Jersey Nets or the Brooklyn Nets?
They're in the division.
We can't use the Atlantic Division,
Oh.
Nick.
Let's see. The Bulls have Josh Giddey. That's too young. Milwaukee has Miles Turner. It's too old. Heat, it's retired. Atlanta 3. I don't know if they have a 3. Cleveland, it's Thomas Bryant. Detroit is Karis LeVert. Or no, he's number 8. He's number 8 for the Pistons now.
I told you guys Miles was our number insider.
Who's number 3 on Charlotte?
That's what
They
I'm
don't really have a lot of
trying-
guys in that age range.
Yeah, they don't. Pat Connaughton. I think he's number 11 though. Number 3.
The
No,
Bucks,
Wizards.
like Craig Porter, or not Craig Porter, Kevin Porter.
He's like 40-something, isn't he?
Kevin Porter. Not on the. Oh, geez. I think Miles Turner is number 3 for the Bucks.
Oh, and the height's down, so it's not going to be him.
But okay, wouldn't be Gary
Bulls are
Trent.
Giddey, the Magic is Bane. Gosh, it's gonna be one. Oh wait, no, CJ McCollum. That's gonna. He's older than 30, isn't he? I feel like he has to be.
I feel like he has to be.
He has to be.
Indiana. Who's number 3 on the Indiana Pacers this season? Oh,
Neesmith?
Man. I wonder. Oh, you know what? Is this Monte Morris? They've been searching all over for backup point guards, and he just signed there, I think, again.
Is he even in the game?
Let's see. He is in the game.
Oh.
Want to try him?
Let's try him.
All right, let's go for it. No,
Oh,
but that was
okay.
right. He's number 3 on the Pacers. Oh, okay, but this is going to be a
All right.
Southeast player. Okay,
He's 29.
So then maybe Atlanta Hawks. Maybe
He's 29 years old.
is Luke Kennard.
Oh, that's a good guess.
That's a pretty good
I think
guess.
he's that old already, but we could try.
I feel like he is that old, honestly.
Think we want to try Luke
Try
Kennard
him.
from
Yeah.
from good old Ohio. Let's try out Luke Kennard, and it's good.
Bang! I was like, he's got to be that old. He's been in for a while.
Yeah, he used to
Yeah.
have the.
He's
He
8
took the
years.
scoring title from LeBron, and then it was just broken last year by a guy at what's that school? CCC, whatever. It doesn't matter. Continue.
Cleveland Central Catholic.
No,
I don't know. But
Tri-C.
Luke Kennard in 3. Luke Kennard in 3. Good start here on the podcast for Pirtle. We've been doing pretty well on Pirtles the last few episodes. But now let's get in here to all the news that's been going on around the league. And it's hard to start anywhere else than in Dallas, where it feels like we've started every episode here to start off the season. Just 9 months, a mere 9 months after making the most shocking trade in NBA history, the Mavericks decided to fire Nico Harrison. after the Mavericks then got off to now a 3-9 start to the season through 12 games, which has them second to last place in the Western Conference. Nick, with the way things were going, this really was no surprise at all here that this was going to happen with the way things were going. What was your reaction to the news?
Yeah, like you said, not a surprise. Um, we were just talking before we press record, like how we never like we saw the vision when Nico made the trade, and we never really got to see it play out on the court. Um, but the blame has to fall on somebody, and it's going to fall on the guy who made the trade that got them in this position, which is the bottom of the standings in the Western Conference and the worst offense in the league. While they're the guy they traded away is leading one of the teams towards the top of the conference and having an MVP type of season. So when that happens, and then the whole center point is now like they're chanting "Fire Nico" during free throws, like that's not where you want the direction of the organization to be centered. Is on the front office and not on the players or the product.
Yeah, Joey, I know when the trade initially happened on this podcast, you were the only one that was really truly against it, and it is come to fruition here. And you were right. The first thing you said when we asked you your reactions on the trade was that you think Nico Harrison's going to get fired in the next year, and it has happened. So what are your thoughts on this?
Obviously, I'm happy to be correct. I always like being right. However, I don't think he got a fair shot because, like you guys said, like he didn't see the whole. He hasn't seen the whole vision. Like you would expect someone to make that kind of a shocking trade to at least have it go for a year so you can see the whole team together. Because obviously, when Kyrie got injured and then AD at the end of last year, you obviously couldn't have seen it. So this year you were going kind of all in, but you still had to wait to Kyrie to kind of finish that vision and finish the team as a whole, and they couldn't even wait till that. But I do get it because the negativity around that entire team and city, and especially just around him in general, like the writing, like you said, the writing was on the wall. It was bound to happen, even if he didn't get to see his vision come to fruition. It's you can't do something like that and then the product on the court be that bad and still expect to be like, oh, they'll still trust me with my vision because it hasn't. It's like there's too much. Like the Dallas Mavericks governor of the team or whatever came out and says like there's been too much negativity around it, and it's like we just got to switch that. We can't have that. It's like you really can't. You just got the number one pick. And you got Cooper Flag. You do still have a promising future, but with all the negativity, you just can't have that. So I fully get it, but also, yeah, I'm pretty mixed on it. Is on one hand, I'm like, yeah, makes sense. Saw it coming. On the other hand, I'm like, but he just really didn't get a fair shot at it after he made that trade.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, Ben, what is your stance on the Nico Harrison firing?
Yeah, I just think that was a terrible trade he mid year last year. I don't know why he did that. Anthony Davis, great player when he's healthy, but to be injury prone, and the Mavericks were not looking too good at all to start the season, especially offensively, where Lucas shined on another Western Conference team, the Lakers, with that. And yeah, it was time for him to go. And there's just a lot of negativity with the fans and them chanting "Fire Nico" still at the games this year. Uh, the negativity, like you guys have said, that was another good reason why they fired him. They had to try and calm that down a bit. And kind of what was funny about this was Patrick Dermott, the Mavericks owner and like governor. He was at the game before like that firing happened. He was like sitting courtside by like a kid who was a fan and talking with them. And I think the kid was a Luca fan, not happy about the whole thing. And of course, he was hearing it from other fans. And boom, the next day he pulled the plug and fire Nico, which was interesting.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it really is shocking how this has gone this bad. I mean, I think even for the biggest pessimists of the Luka Doncic trade, I don't think anyone would have imagined that this is what we would be looking
Well,
at
how'd
this
you put it?
point.
You said the basketball gods didn't let Nico Harrison.
Right. No, they didn't. That's what I firmly believe. Like I still agree. Like Nick and I and Jackson Goglin, our good buddy, when we were reacting to the trade, maybe not the biggest fans of it. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the way they went about making the trade. But I understood the vision where you're worried about Luka Doncic's conditioning going forward. We've seen it, cost, his teams, whether it's in the NBA or internationally at different moments, regardless of how good he is. And Nico Harrison had a vision to go with a defensive-minded twin tower unit, which is what the league is going back to, over the last couple of years, going big. And he traded for the best one available besides, Victor Wembanyama. And, on paper, the roster looked really, really good, but the basketball gods only allowed us to see one half of that team. And while the one half looked really, really good, that's not worth justifying. I mean, so many bad things
Yeah.
have happened since then. Literally, the only good thing that has happened since that trade was that they magically won the lottery. Like which I guess was part of the vision, right? Yeah, well, yeah, which I guess, yeah, right. It was part of the vision, right? Fortune favors the bold. I don't think so, but yeah. So I still, understand the vision. I still think we could get into this later. Eventually, if it's next year, if the Mavericks decide to keep their roster going and we get to see what it looks like with Kyrie Irving back healthy, with Anthony Davis back healthy, that there is potential for it to, work out. But Nico Harrison, I think, had to get fired at this point of the season, like you guys said, because of the negativity and the drama that has been around that team. I think something that we were talking about, with the Mavericks and their slow start to the season, I was like, dude, they have a very home-heavy schedule to begin the season. 13 of their first 18 games are at the American Airlines Center in front of their fans. So it's like, it's bad that they're, losing these games here in the season because it could cost them, later on down the line. But the other side of it that I didn't think about until after the fact is it probably didn't feel like home. It probably didn't feel like a home court advantage because the fans are booing and chanting against, the person that makes all your roster decisions. So, maybe, now that this has happened and now that they're going to get to go on the road for a little bit more, there could be a world where this helps them because right now they're not a good basketball team, regardless of all of us coming into the season, even with Kyrie Irving out. We look at this team like, man, this is the deepest team in the NBA. We kept talking about that, but the depth pieces are not playing well. Klay Thompson has been awful. He's now coming off the bench playing a little bit better. D'Angelo Russell, has been, he hasn't been efficient from the field. PJ Washington has not shot the ball well. I mean, offensively, they've been absolutely brutal. Their 3 wins this season have come against the Raptors, who have been playing very, very, well this season, but then a 2-point win against the Pacers and a 6-point win at Washington, and they had already lost to the Wizards, earlier in the season. So they just have not been a good basketball team. So you had to make this move. I think even if you have the stance that, you got to see what you got with these guys going forward, the Nico Harrison just being there was making things worse for the Mavericks.
I'm going to ask you this, Miles. When the season started, and even after the first 2 weeks of the season, would you have put your money on seeing Nico Harrison fired before Willie Green's fired?
Oh my gosh. Oh no, I wouldn't have. I would not have. No, because you look at some of these games, like these are some win games. You think on paper that the Mavericks had to start the season. I mean, losing by 10 to the Wizards, losing by 2 to the Pelicans, blowing a double-digit lead to Milwaukee. That was the game. That was the game where Nico Harrison got fired. They're chanting "Fire Nico" as PJ Washington is shooting big free throws in the final seconds to try and tie the game. Like, it's absolutely unheard of. So they had to make this move. They absolutely had to.
Well, they got. I mean, they got a chance to get some wins here coming up. Like you said, they're going on the road in a bit, but they do have 5 of their next 6 at home. Playing New Orleans, playing Portland, playing the struggling Clippers, playing Memphis as well coming up. So a chance to get some wins and get back in the right direction, maybe make it start to feel like home again.
Those are must wins, though. If they really want to get this season back on track, at least 3 of those have to be must wins.
Well, the if you said is if they want to get the season back on track. And I think that's where we should go to next, Ben. I mean, now the Nico Harrison era is over. We can close the book like Miles Turner closed the book on Indiana. That was crazy. But now the question going around is what is next for the Dallas Mavericks? Because they're a team that because Nico Harrison did a great job building a contending team around Luka Doncic, they gave up their first round pick, capital from 2027 to 2030. After this season, they don't have their own first round pick for the rest of the decade. So with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving injured, and the Mavericks already, just they're not even tanking. They just haven't been good. What should the next step be? Should they look to maybe trade those guys? Should they ride it out with this roster? Ben, what do you think?
Well, they're in an interesting spot, and yeah, that's not the best that they don't have a first round pick after this next round draft for right now. And yeah, Anthony Davis, he's pretty good when he's healthy, of course. One of the better big men in the league when he's healthy, but it's just like I don't know, the timeline thing it's kind of weird in my opinion with, Kyrie and Anthony Davis, older guys there, but now you have like Cooper Flag, who you're hoping you can get the ball to and build into like your next like superstar to give your fan base hope after this whole Luca thing. And thinking, Dallas at the trade deadline or in the off season to trade Anthony Davis. They need to get first round draft capital back, in my opinion. And I don't think they're looking like a championship contending team now going forward. And I think you need to try and find a way to eventually add some more like young talent going forward with like Cooper Flag still there. And for Anthony Davis, I did come up with some trade destinations on teams that could be possibly interested in them. I put down the Heat, Raptors, and Bulls as teams that I'm thinking, well, they might look to possibly trade Anthony Davis. And those teams do have some good young players who Dallas could get in exchange that could help them and could have some good draft capital. I think the Raptors could be best with trying to get like young players and draft capital back, and the Raptors are starting to look towards competing more to play some pretty good basketball so far this year, and maybe they would want Anthony Davis, but yeah, and Kyrie there too. Yeah, they'll just to see how Kyrie's recovering from his injuries stuff, and just kind of figure out what to do with him from there. So yeah.
Nice, interesting. I like the destinations. I like those three. Chicago would be fun. I mean, hometown kid going back playing for the Bulls. I had been thinking a little bit as well in the situation that he were to get traded, and my two teams that Ben you didn't even say, two teams that are going to want to be competitive next year that currently do not have a center that's good enough to compete, and those are the Pacers and the Celtics, which that definitely could be interesting. But before we get to that stuff, Nick, I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this as someone who was incredibly high on this Mavericks roster at the time they made the trade last year. And I mean, on paper they have the better roster than last year, when healthy. What do you think the Mavericks should do with this situation that they're in right now?
Yeah, it's such a difficult spot, and I definitely don't envy whoever's replacing Nico Harrison and having to deal with this whole situation because I really don't know which direction you go. Um, I think whichever direction you do go, you gotta go hard though. Like if if you want to get this draft pick this year, I mean, there's one of three things you could really do. Like you could have AD and Kyrie like sit and tank, and then you get a high draft pick this year, and then you have the last 2 years of top five pick, and then you try and run that back with this roster with Kyrie, AD, Clay, PJ Washington, the two bigs, Lively and Gafford, with these two young, inexperienced dudes who might be really good. I think that's the route I would go. Um, the other thing you could do is obviously look for some draft capital in return and trade Kyrie and AD and just rebuild around Flag. You'll have your pick this year because you're going to be bad, and then you get whatever you can for maybe this year and the next year or two, and that's your rebuild right there. Um, it's not a bad route either. Or you do nothing, try and be competitive, wait for those guys to come back and see what you got by the end of the season. I would go one of the either the first one where you run it back next year with a high pick, or I wouldn't trade everybody yet. Just explaining it out. I mean, I was gonna say trade everybody when I started talking, but after going through it like that, I think uh, I think they should do this, sell it this year, and then see where they're at next year.
Joey, how about you? What do you think?
Um, I completely agree with Ben. I think they need to trade everybody, get some draft capital, build around Flag and possibly one of the young other guys or a couple of the young guys you get, and depending on what talent you're able to get back. From AD, Washington probably, Kyrie most likely as well, maybe one of the other bigs too. I don't know. I just don't think this year or even next year. Like I don't mind the other two options, like what Nick was saying, because they can do that. And obviously, if the basketball gods forgive them and all that kind of stuff and help them out, if Anthony Davis and Kyrie come back healthy and they're fine next year, or even by the end of this year, yeah, it's going to be I think it could be a really good team. However, that window is very short now, though. You have 2 years now. You have 1 or 2 years max, or even next year. That's it, and then you have to blow everything up, and then possibly do it. I'd rather just get the ball rolling, start that rebuild quicker, because depending on who you get back and what draft pick, because this is a good draft class, and whatever's going to happen, and whoever you start to your rebuild with, obviously probably Cooper Flag, you can become competitive again within the next couple of years. Like it could be even though it's a very tough situation. Like Nick said, I don't envy whoever's going to take his job and have to fulfill that role, but it can turn into a really good situation really, really quick. Like you do have a really good team. You can trade away some of that top talent and replace it with still really good young talent and have them grow for a year or two, and then you're right back in the mix in the West. Like it's just that easy. At least in my opinion, if everything goes well. I'm not, especially how the basketball gods have been treating them, I'm not going to rely on them keeping AD and Kyrie healthy for the next year or so. Like you just can't trust that now. You really can't.
Makes sense.
It really is difficult. It will be former Mav Michael Finley as well as Matt Riccardi that are running basketball operations on an interim basis. The two assistant GMs there for the Dallas Mavericks. I guess the first thing I'll say is, yeah, it's going to be a tough decision, but I don't really envy it because already the fans are going to love you just because you're not Nico Harrison. They're already going to, be a fan of what you do. They're already going to probably, run by what you want to do. But as far as what I think they probably should do, I would probably go with the route that you just play this year out. Again, I don't even know what this start they're on. I don't even know if they have to tank in this Western Conference. They're just bad right now. They could just keep going the way they're going. Maybe Anthony Davis returns. Maybe you prolong his, recovery. Kyrie maybe comes back at the end of the season, but don't put too much load on them. Try to get your high draft pick and then see what you got with the roster next season. Because with Anthony Davis and Kyrie, I'm not sure, because of the injury concerns and questions, I'm not sure if you're getting back like what you would really want for a rebuild. Like we just saw with the with the Phoenix Suns, with Kevin Durant, when they were looking for a trade. Of course, not they're winning games and they're doing they're having a good start to the season right now. But on paper, it's like Jalen Green. Like when the trade came out, it was Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, 1 first, and then a bunch of seconds. All of us are like, that's solid for what there is, but this is not what you would normally see for a Kevin Durant level guy getting traded. I think it'd be a similar, thing, if not worse, for Anthony Davis and Kyrie, because they have more injury concerns. So I'm not even sure if it'd be worth trading them, because would you be better off just keeping them? So then maybe you do have a chance with the roster next year. I'm not sure if you're getting the draft capital and the young assets, with these guys if you trade them.
You're going to at least get, I think, decent assets back. It's not going to be great or what you obviously gave up to get them, because they are now 32 and 33 years old. And if you do want to just play it out this year and hopefully run it back next year, they're now 33 and 34 years old, AD and Kyrie. So, and the older you get, the injury concerns are just going to keep piling up and they're going to get slower and stuff. So obviously they're not going to get great stuff back, because even though they're still really good and to great players, they're now reaching that mid-30s. They're going to start regressing, I feel like, pretty badly, especially with the injuries. I think you just kind of have to bite the bullet and try to get what you can. And the sooner you do that, the better deal you're going to get, I think, because the more you wait, the older they're going to be, possibly pick up another injury, and then you're just out of luck.
Yeah, I guess my question is that, like, is whatever you get for them, like, I don't even know of an example. Like, I feel like you would just get salary fillers and maybe a first, like, at this point, depending on how long you wait to trade them because of all the concerns. And I'm like, in the long run, is that really worth it compared to if you just see this out with this roster? Because if they play it out and they're able to somehow, jump into the top 2 or 3 again this season in the lottery, they could run out a lineup of like Darren Peterson, Kyrie Irving, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, and Derek Lively. Like, and that, I think that might be, really good. I think that might be a better outcome than if you just trade AD and Kyrie for salary filler and these not so great firsts. I don't know. It is a very difficult decision, but I don't think that they will make those. I think if they were to make those trades, Anthony Davis would be a mid-season trade. Kyrie Irving would be an end-of-season trade. That's what I would think about those two guys.
I agree with that, at least, yeah.
But as far as what they should do, I think they go with option 1 for Nick. I think just continue with what you're doing now. Try to get that high draft pick and then see what you got next year. Because, one thing about rebuilds is when you go into a rebuild, it's never really a guarantee where it will take you with all, those draft picks. I mean, and I know these guys are injured, but the lineup I just said, I mean, Darren Peterson, Irving, Flagg, Davis, and Lively, I mean, that could be really, really good. That might be better than anything else they could build there, in Dallas. But definitely not an easy decision, something that I'm sure we'll be monitoring the season to see if the Mavericks lose games. But either way, just super glad that this did end up happening, because now hopefully the Mavericks can start to, get back to being relevant for positive reasons, because it's really been all negative for the last few months.
Honestly, this whole situation reminds me of like when I worked second shift, and like if the first shift had people who called off and they just, it wasn't ready for second shift to come in. And you got to make the most of it. You got to figure it out. So that's what they're going to do in Dallas. They're either going to figure it out for the good, or they're going to blame first shift and lose money.
Yeah,
and that's what it's going to.
Let us know in the comments what you would do.
Yeah, definitely not easy. I do think, though, with those 3 options, though, Nick, I don't think that there is a total wrong decision.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
which I think does make it a little bit easier. But
Because, like I said, you
let's
can just
say,
blame first shift.
You could just
yeah,
blame Nico. It's okay.
that's right. But for now, let's stay in the bottom of the Western Conference. With there have been a lot of teams that have been struggling, but let's talk about the LA Clippers, a team that all of us expected to do some good things this season with the offseason that they had, and it just has not gotten off to a good start at all. They're now 3-8 through their first 11 games. We got the word that Bradley Beal, one of their big additions heading into the summer, who has been in and out of the lineup due to injury, is going to miss the rest of the season after fracturing his hip, over the last few games. So Ben, really, it just has not been a good start for the Clippers. What do you think the biggest problems have been there in LA?
Yeah, they were freed the Clippers to start the year when they had Kawhi Leonard in the lineup, but now with Kawhi Leonard already missing multiple games due to injury, it looks like he's gonna miss a few more before he comes back from his injury. The Clippers have not won a single game without Kawhi Leonard, and yeah, that's concerning. I would have thought, like, before the season started, like, okay, Kawhi's the missed games. They'll hopefully be able to step up and win games without him, but they haven't been able to at all. And just lineups have been in and out. Start the year different. Ty Lue's been running all kinds of different lineups from what I've noticed. And Harden, he's had a few pretty good games, but it's kind of been up and down a few not so good games. John Collins has stepped up and looked good in some games. I think he's been nice for them, but like they keep up Norman Powell in that whole deal thing, and I think they could be missing him now because he was pretty good for them with Bradley Beal and when he was playing before he got injured. Bradley Beal was looking so good out there, and yeah, the Clippers are like 23rd in point differential. I found out. They haven't been great defensively recently. I would say, like yesterday against Nuggets, they gave up 130 points, 55 points to Jokic, who we know is one of the best players in the league. But still, that's unacceptable. You got like Zubats, the good bigs out there. It's crazy to me that that happens still. And the Clippers are like 29th in points per game on offense too, for what I saw from ESPN. Like, yeah, that's not great. I thought they would have been better than this, and guys just got to step it up more.
Yeah, so the numbers for you, they're 20th in offense, 26th in defense, dead last in pace. And I think the big concern coming into the season, right, is that this team is old as dirt. This is the oldest team in the league. They're playing a lot of veterans, and for the most part, the veterans just haven't really been good, especially the guys they brought in. Like you mentioned, Bradley Beal before the injury hadn't had a single good game yet, and I know he's been in and out of the lineup, with injury, so kind of hard to get your rhythm when you're mixing and matching so many different lineups. But he hasn't been good. Nick Batum hasn't been good. Chris Paul is now getting DNPs now. This might be the end of the point god. Brooke Lopez has been good, but he's only playing like the minutes that Zubats isn't on the court. So it's but he's been good. He's been a good addition for them, and John Collins has been good. But with Norman Powell playing out of his mind in Miami right now, it definitely hurts. Especially with no Kawhi. When last year they were able to get it done with him out for a lot of the season, was because of their defense. They were able to get stops. They were able to defend as a team this year. They're 26th in defense. And the big problem this year is they are turning it over a lot. They're turning it over 16 times a game. And because they're so old, they're not going to get back in, quick enough. Transition defense. They're giving up the most points in transition off turnovers in the league. So those are the biggest problems with this Clippers team. And Nick, it's crazy. Looking at their schedule, they're about to embark on a 7-game road trip. 12 of the next 14 games are away from the Intuit Dome. It's actually funny. Their first game of this trip tonight is at Dallas. So we get the two struggling teams in the West, facing off against each other. What are your thoughts on the Clippers?
Well, it's anybody's bet what's going to happen in that one between the Clippers and the Mavericks tonight. Should be interesting. But yeah, like you guys said, Clippers are just not in a good spot. Like coming into the year, we thought this was one of the deepest teams in the league, and that could still be the case, but it doesn't really help with none of the guys on the roster are playing well enough to win games. And yeah, you're right about the pace and the age. Like it's just not a good team today's NBA and in modern basketball. Like if you're not getting up and down the court, you better be able to defend, and they haven't been defending. Like you said, the turnovers are a big problem. They rank 19th in the league in total turnovers, but that's a deceiving number because they get so many less possessions because their pace is so low. So really, their turnover percentage is second worst in the league. Like it's a very high percentage of possessions ending with a turnover. So that with the defense and the age, um, the Beal thing didn't work out like we thought it was gonna. Now he's out for the year. Collins came in and yeah, I mean, he can fill a role, but he's not gonna score 20 a game. So it's all on James Harden and Zubats, and that's just not working.
Definitely not a recipe for success if you're relying on mid-30s James Harden and Zubac. Well, I love Zubac. He's a baller, but regardless.
Right, their third best player right now, if we're with currently constructed with Leonard and Beal out of the lineup. There's Arden, there's Zubats, and then, geez, I mean, John Collins off the bench, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr. That's not good. That is not good right now. So they're going to have to figure it out quickly because if they really want to compete this season, because their first round pick, because of the Paul George trade, it would go to the team that's 11-1 and has been unstoppable so far this season, the Oklahoma City Thunder, which would be ridiculous if that ends up actually happening. So the Clippers definitely got to figure some things out there. But let's go. We've been talking, about some down on the dump stories right now with the Mavs and the Clippers. Let's go to the top of the East, to the Detroit Pistons, man. Number one in the Eastern Conference right now. They are 10-2. They've won their last 8 games. That has them first in the Eastern Conference. Doesn't matter if guys are playing in and out of the lineup. Cade Cunningham just had a ridiculous triple-double where he took 45 shots. They're getting play from, their role players. It really has been a story to watch here, Joey. They're off to their best start in 20 years.
Detroit basketball, man. I absolutely love it. Even though they're in our division, supposed to be a Cavs rival, I don't care. It's super fun to see them do this well. I still have tremendous respect for JB for helping the Cavs get back on their feet and competitive. He's doing the same exact thing in Detroit, exactly how we thought it would go. Like, if they wanted Detroit to get back to a competitive level and a playoff contender, JB was a perfect guy. Last year was just the start. This year, they just seem to be rolling, buying in. Everybody is buying into that system. Cade Cunningham is incredible, even though, 45-point triple or 44-point triple double,
46.
What?
46.
46. Oh yeah, my bad. But 14 from 45 from the field is god awful. Let's just be. It is a ridiculous triple double, but that is terrible percentage.
Kobe Bryant.
But again, who cares when you're winning? It really does not matter as long as you're winning, and they are just obviously the hottest team in the East right now. They are just playing incredible.
Yeah, I mean, heading into the season, it was, seen that the top 2 teams in the East were New York and Cleveland. They're both going with their ups and downs right now to start the season. But then that tier below, kind of trying to figure out what team that would be, if it would be these Pistons, if it would be the Orlando Magic, if it would be the Atlanta Hawks. And right now, Ben, it is the Pistons. It has been the Pistons so far to start this season. And, we talk about Cade Cunningham and some of the role players, are playing well, but let's talk about Jalen Duren, because he has been the guy that has taken a major step on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, I my prediction at during from before the season started has looked good so far. I said he's gonna take a step up, and he has offensively. He's been tough to stop in the paint offensively. He's a pretty strong, tough guy, Duran, and he's great at grabbing rebounds, and he's a pretty good shot blocker too. So he's a force down to that painted area for the Pistons. And Pistons, Wednesday night they played the Bulls at home, and somehow with no starters, I believe in that game, even beat the Bulls. But the Bulls were kind of banged up. But that's still impressive. It just goes to show you that, man, I thought the Pistons would have some good depth this year, but it's turned out to be even better than I thought it was going to be. This guy, Danis Jenkins, uh, yeah, I know his last name's Jenkins, but he's just somehow these last few games look good for them and put up a good amount of points. I never even heard of this guy till now, which is funny. And Dr. Robinson's been a good addition for them. He's helped with the 3 point shooting, which has definitely been good for them. And who knows, maybe Malik Beasley will get cleared and he'll be back with them this season, like we talked about before. That would be awesome if that somehow happened for them. And uh, yeah, I just like what I'm seeing a lot from Detroit basketball. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, but Dennis Jenkins, it really is crazy. Last year he played, let's see, 23 total minutes in 7 games last year. Just this week in the Wizards game in overtime, 24 points, 8 rebounds, 4 steals in 34 minutes, hits the 2 3 pointers to send the game to overtime, including the one at the buzzer. And then in this Bulls game where Cade Cunningham is resting or, after the craziness against Washington, Duran isn't playing. I don't believe Thompson. Like all these guys are just out. He gets 18 and 12 in 40 minutes. Like it really is insane. Like this guy is potentially going to get Player of the Week votes this season. Like that might be the most shocking thing of the whole season if he gets a Player of the Week votes. But it really has been special so far. What the Pistons have been able to do, Nick. Question is now, I mean, how long in the season until we can start making the proclamations that hey, this team could be a title contender, this team could do special things?
I don't know. It might not be too early at this point. I know they're only 10-2, but I really like this Pistons team. Cade has ascended to being able to, do a lot of big guard stuff. At 6'8", can really distribute, can really shoot it. Obviously, isn't going to take 46 shots every night, but can put up 40 anytime he runs out there. And then Duran is a force. Really, just his aggressiveness this year has been the main thing. I mean, he's taken like 4 more shots a game, and he's getting a line like 3 more times as well, just shooting a very high percentage. But they have a lot of guys who can light it up on any given night. Like Paul Reed had 28 the other night. You guys are talking about Dennis Jenkins. I mean, Karis LeVert is no stranger to scoring. Jaden Ivey could go out there and do it. Tobias Harris is knocked down from behind the arc. Like they have a lot of weapons. Duncan Robinson. Um, Team's very good on both ends. Isaiah Stewart's a big presence down there on the other end. That's a big. I mean, they still have that tough identity, and then they add a lot of offensive weapons to the team as well.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think they're something with them is that they've been, especially in the Eastern Conference, it feels like they've been the only team that has had consistency with who has been out there, in the East so far this season. And that's a big reason why they're, at the top right now. Because, really all you got to do in the league is if you're consistently playing, a particular style with the same guys leading you night in and night out, then you're going to do some good style things. So the Pistons have been playing very well. We'll see where they're at here in a few weeks. And then the first time we play our contender or pretender game on this podcast, we'll see where we land on Detroit basketball. But either way, it's just great to have them, back being this competitive. I mean, It really is crazy to think that this time, well, not even this time, like 2 seasons ago. This is like a year and a half ago. The Pistons lose 29 games in a row, and the Dallas Mavericks go to the NBA Finals. Like, we are in a complete different world right now.
We are in the upside
Yep.
down. Sorry,
Yeah,
I've been
it
watching Stranger
really
Things
is.
all day today.
It really is crazy. But sticking at the top of the Eastern Conference, let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers because there is some injury news with them as well. Of course, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries to start this season. But less than a week after All-Star point guard Darius Garland returned to the lineup in one of the many crazy games on, he re-aggravated the left big toe injury that forced him to have his struggles in the playoffs and then missed the start of this season with surgery. So, Joey, let's start off with you. Obviously, not great news for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Definitely not. I don't want to go into all my concerns about the Cleveland Cavaliers, but at least with this injury, when Garland was out there, our offense looked much better. It looked a little more complete. We looked like a good team. It was great. So having Garland out for probably another week or two is probably going to suck. Like, I don't know. At this point, what's the cyborg technology at like these days? Can we just like cut off that foot or at least the toe and like replace it with just like a robot or something to give him that same kind of push? Because I just want him out there, and it's becoming a concern.
Yeah, it's definitely is rough news for the Cavs, Nick. As Joey said, I mean the Cavs. It definitely has been up and down. It's also been because, I mean, you talk about teams having to shuffle in and out different lineups. I mean, they've had the most starting lineups in the league. They've already had 9 different starting lineups in 13 games, and that's up there with like the teams that are injured and like I believe it's the Pacers and the Nets or the Mavericks and the Pelicans, teams down there that have the most starting lineups in the league. So overall, the Cavs are still making do with all these different lineups, but gonna hurt to have your all-star point guard out once again.
Yeah, I mean, you just laid out how the Pistons have been rocking with one recipe, one formula, and that's been working for them. Meanwhile, the exact opposite things going on with the Cavs, where they can't get any consistency really to stick. So that's definitely not good early on, and you're putting a lot of weight on Donovan and Evan, and um, that's going to be up and down because those guys, at least Evan, is inexperienced in that role, and Donovan has shouldered weight in the past, but it's a lot of weight to shoulder even now, and it has been for a while since really he's been here, and even in his whole career he's been the guy, whatever. But I don't think it's a long season. It's not necessarily time to sound the alarm bells yet. If Garland gets back and healthy, that's should be okay. But the Cavs are handcuffed here with the money situation. Like there is not a move that gets them out of an injury to one of their core guys. I mean, as we know, Strus is already gone, and he's hurt. And I thought I saw something about them. It might have just been clickbait, but it was like Cavs are having to think about parting ways with like a fan favorite, and it was like Max Strus.
No, that's that. I haven't seen anything about that.
I haven't seen that.
Gotta be clickbait.
But no, definitely true. I mean, I think this whole year, it's obviously different, right? I mean, it wasn't very realistic to think that they'd go 15-0 again. I mean, it was a magical regular season that they had last year. But this year, I mean, they're facing off with a lot of injuries with Garland in and out of the lineup. I mean, to the point of the offense has looked way better in the 3 games that Darius Garland has been on the floor for the Cavaliers. They've scored 132, 148, and 138. They have been awesome, when he's been on the floor. And, there's been a lot made about, certain performances. Like, Jared Allen is a guy that, he's always the scapegoat whenever there are, struggles with this team. But, he, ever since the first Knicks game, he really has picked it up. I mean, he had a great game in that crazy win at Miami when the Cavs were sitting all their guys out. But Ben, something about the core four for this Cavalier team, it really is true because all these guys need each other to make it work. Over previous off seasons, there's been so much talk about, should they make a move with one of these guys? But as we're seeing this season, they all need each other. With Garland out, the offense hasn't been as good, and in games where Jared Allen hasn't gotten the ball out, he hasn't had his main man there that's been setting him up all the time, for shots. So, it's this core four is really valuable, and they are definitely going to need them healthy, if they really want to compete for a title.
Yeah, it's definitely valuable. And what I know about the Scarlet injury thing, yeah, it stinks to get miss some games, but it's definitely not going to be for too long. And, the kids, I think, have had their up and downs to start the year, in my opinion. So, lineups have been mixed. They've had to run a lot of different lineups, like some guys in and out of the lineup. And I think the Cavs, will be fine here going forward. I don't think they're to be able to compete, but something that has kind of concerned me recently is defensively in some games they have given up a lot of points, like in the Heat game where they lost off of that alley oop buzzer beater for the win against the Heat. Yeah, that was a bad defensive breakdown. They gave up
Yeah.
a lot of points in that game, and they just gave up 130 to the Raptors tonight, even though it was a second night of a road home back to back, which is easy, but still, you had Mobley and Mitchell, most of your guys out there. That's just still not great. So the Cavs just gotta get the defense down more. We gotta know more on, where your assignments should be on different stuff defensively. Is what I think. But yeah, I hope the Cavs can figure this all out early on in the year.
Yeah, all in all, I think the defensive concerns are definitely real. There are definitely, points where they have stretches where they are giving up runs to other teams, and it kind of coincides with them going cold from the field. Something that's been going on a lot. I've been a little concerned about the offense because it has been a very 3-point heavy so far this season, and stretches where it's not going down. That's usually when the runs are happening
Yeah.
because if you're missing a bunch of shots, it's not the
Transition.
easiest thing to go back and defend at the other end. Yeah, transition. If you keep missing,
Get set up.
it just makes it difficult. But all in all, with all the injuries and different lineups they've had this season, I think 8-5, second in the East is pretty good for where they're at right now. I think one of the better case scenarios with everything that's been going on lineup wise. Something that has been fun for me, at least, with all these guys in and out of the lineup, is we're getting to see some players in new roles and expanded roles, and we're getting to see what they can do. Like Craig Porter recently has been awesome. Jalen Tyson, after a rough start, he looks really, really good now. Like he's knocking down threes. His big problem is fouling, but besides that, he's done a really good job. Tyrese Proctor has been good. Naquan Tomlin in the loss against the Raptors had 18 points, lots of energy in the second half. So all in all, I think there are positives to find during these rough stretches, but there's no question they're going to need to be healthy when it matters. That's the case for every single team.
Absolutely.
There we go. Nick, I see you. There we go. But that's it for the Cavaliers. We had some other injury news in the Eastern Conference. In the same game when the Knicks and the Magic played on Wednesday, with Paolo Banchero and Jalen Brunson going down with injuries. Nick, what happened with those injuries? What do you think even happened?
Jalen Brunson has to stop wearing Kobe sixes, and I was just surprised that it wasn't two oblique injuries for the best two players on the Magic, because I don't know, just a coincidence. Heck of a coincidence last year, and then two guys going down, and a really, this is a marquee matchup here in the Eastern Conference. with the Knicks 6-0 at home and Orlando going in there on a struggle bus a little bit, but getting a buzzer beater from Desmond Bain in the previous night on Monday and then rolling into New York to slay the undefeated Knicks at the home of at their hometown in the Garden. But yeah, Jalen's got to stop wearing the low Kobe's because just gonna keep tweaking that ankle.
I always hate low shoes like that, man. I don't know how anybody plays in those because your ankle I feel just snaps.
Yeah, so definitely hoping for the best for those guys. Just so many injuries going on around the league here. Now let's go to the top of the Western Conference. We got to talk about Oklahoma City, the reigning champs, who have been ridiculous to start the season. 12-1 to begin the year. They just got a very impressive, dominant win against the LA Lakers, who have been off to a great start this season. Yeah, I mean they're just continuing what they've been doing, even without Jalen Williams.
Yeah,
With
you were
guys
right. I
shifting in
mean,
and out of the lineup for them, they've just been playing great.
you said that they should be better. Everyone should get better. And it looks like that's the case. Chet's playing really well. Obviously, Shea is putting up 30 and three quarters every single night. And they don't even have their second star back yet. So,
And they're getting a second year jump from AJ Mitchell, who's been awesome. He's their third leading scorer right now. I mean, been one of the most improved players in the league so far this season. I mean, he's averaging 17, 4, and 4 right now for the Thunder. I mean, he has been awesome. Isaiah Joe's averaging 16 points off the bench. Aaron Wiggins 15. I mean, yeah, it really is. I mean, they're youngest team in the NBA. Their young guys have gotten even better.
The fact that they were so good and dominant last year, and at least through 13 games this year, we're talking about them being even better, and they don't even have their second best player. I, what else can you say other than they're still the best, clear cut best team in the NBA?
if you think about it, like the whole saying, like iron sharpens iron, that's what it is. I mean, if you think about what a first team practice looks like, or what practice looks like for the Thunder when they're going against when Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe are going against Shea and Cason Wallace and Lou Dort, like you're not getting the same reps in the Kings practice when their first squad is DeMar and Levine and Sabonis. Like if you're Keon Ellis, like you have to guard. You'd rather be guarding, all MVPs and Jalen Williams and guys who play around those guys every day. Like it's just iron sharpens iron. The culture, like you can only get as good as your first team guys, sort of.
What's with the dig on the Kings, man?
It was just a good example to use. I mean, it was probably the best example I could have used, to be honest.
Yeah, and the Sacramento kick, that's a whole other thing.
We're talking positive now. I'm done talking. I don't want to talk about any more negatives.
I will say, though, we're talking about the Kings and the Thunder. Shout out to Russell Westbrook. He's been playing well for the Kings this season. He's, now finally, he's hitting threes now. It's at a consistent rate at a high percentage. That's about the only thing that's going right for the Sacramento Kings so far this season. But something that we loosely talked about when previewing the season, Ben, was the potential for this Thunder team to get even better. But now that we're in this and they are playing, unstoppable basketball right now, and obviously we're only 12 games in, do you think there is a world where this season they could enter that same air as the two best regular season teams of all time, the 95-96 Bulls, the 15-16 Warriors? I know if they keep winning like this, I mean, they're 11-1 or 12-1. Their only loss was by 2, and they led by 24 in that game. So, soon people in the media are going to start having the conversation of, can this team go for the all-time record for wins in a season?
Yeah, I'm thinking they could if, their star players are, playing in rest of their games and stuff. But I'm thinking maybe later in the year they're just going to be, so far up in the West standings for winning so much games that they can just decide to rest, Shea for multiple games or Chet for multiple games or, J-Dub some games because they just want to, make sure they're staying healthy. And I'm thinking that's what they could possibly go to later in the year, because I know their main focus this year is to to try to, of course, win a lot of games in the regular season, but then the playoffs, of course, is where it all matters and trying to repeat. And you want to make sure your guys are healthy and all ready to go, because being healthy in the playoffs on your team is a key part if your team is super good and you're trying to win the championship, obviously. And yeah, this Thunder team, boy, they blow me away. They're even better than they were last year. They're dominant on both ends of the floor. And I think this team that they had this year could be like one of the greatest teams in NBA history. And that could be going forward in years after this. This could turn out to be one of the greatest dynasties we have seen from a team. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, Joey, what do you think?
Do they want to though? Like that's my only thing because I'm with Ben. Like the most important thing is to be healthy at the playoffs, and at least with like Chet and maybe obviously with J Dub with his injuries. Like, do you really want to risk that? Like, on all that kind of stuff. However, they could even rest some of those guys and they still be fine. Like they could still easily win 70 games and rest like Chet, Shea, and J Dub and Hartenstein and like everybody for a good 5 to 10 games and still win 70.
Yeah, I even remember the end of last year when they, had clinched the, because they were 16 games ahead of the 2 seed. They had already clinched and they were resting their guys for some games. And we were getting triple doubles from Jay Will, the other Jalen Williams. Like, now AJ Mitchell's popping off. Aaron Wiggins will go for 40. Like, it really is crazy. I feel like this team could potentially go for it, even if like they're resting guys here at the end of the season.
It just proves to that organization that front off. It goes from the top, the front office, from Sam Presti putting all of this together down to Marky Mark and just making everyone buy into this system and clicking, and they're literally just. I don't see any stopping it. I could see them easily, possibly at least tying, maybe the 72-10 Bulls, maybe.
Interesting. Nick, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely on the table, right? I think the biggest thing that would get in their way is what Ben said, resting guys at the end of the season, just because you already have cruised to the 1 seed. But it's definitely on the table because you start to think about it, like they are playing unstoppable basketball. They pass the eye test. They have guys who are stepping up, like they all got better, like we talked about, and then they're all only playing like their minutes aren't crazy because they're only playing like 3 quarters, like we talked about too. So they're very good and they're usually pretty well rested and they're very deep and they have guys who are stepping up. So yeah, it's definitely on the table. I could see it happening. High pace offense. Like you said, they have 1 2 point loss and they were by 24 in that game. So if they play how they did the rest of the season, how they did the first 13 games, then they logically would finish very well.
Yeah. The thing that, could be interesting to that point, as far as would they, rest guys near the end of the season, I think that depends on how other teams are doing, especially in the Western Conference, particularly the Denver Nuggets, who have also been awesome to start this season. They're 9-2. Jokic is averaging the most quiet 29, 13, and 11 I think you could ever average. He's been a beast. He's shooting 68% from the field. It's laughable the stuff he's doing. But if Denver and OKC end up like battling for the top of the Western Conference, then there really isn't an incentive. Because I remember back, when the Warriors were, on their way to winning 73 games, the reason why their guys kept playing down the stretch of the season is because the San Antonio Spurs that year were right behind them. They were a 67-win 2 seed. So the whole season they were neck and neck because the even though it was historic, both teams were on pace for 70-win seasons. the number 1 seed was up for grabs like nearly the whole season until like the final week, of the season. So if now I'm not saying that the Denver Nuggets are going to be like close to 70 wins. That'd be, crazy in itself, but that might help them, if one of these other teams ends up having an incredible historic season, to where the Thunder, there isn't an incentive to rest guys because top seed is very important.
I will say I don't see it being even how good OKC is. Like you said, Denver's been fantastic. Jokic has been out of his mind. Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, they've all been playing great. I don't see it being like a 16.5 game lead like it was last year.
No, don't think so at all. But that's all we got here for today on the podcast. Whole lots of stuff to get to. Very excited for the next podcast. We're going to have something very special in store for the next podcast. So you're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun starting on Tuesday's episode. But that's it for this one. You guys have anything else before we get out of here?
Don't think so.
Good job, boys. Glad to be back.
Yes, sir. That's
Lot of
right.
fun.
If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.